Voting wraps up today in Moscow's so-called referendums in Russian-controlled parts of Ukraine. Kremlin-backed leaders in the region say provisional results can be expected as soon as this evening. But Kyiv and its allies say the results are a foregone conclusion. Moscow is expected to formally annex the four regions following the vote, raising fears among residents about their future.
Dropping a vote into the ballot box should mean having a say in one's future. But outside of Russia and Ukraine's separatist regions, not many believe the Kremlin's listening. Over the last few days, state television has been showing polling stations packed with enthusiastic yes voters.
This referendum is the purpose of the last 10 years of my life.
And upbeat election workers being welcomed in their homes by people eager to join the motherland. One of them seemed to already know the result.
Great mood. The turnout is very high, so we are happy with the result. Everything's fine.
Footage circulating on social media paints a very different picture of the so-called referendum. Empty streets and election workers struggling to find people to vote. Another video from Mariupol, shared by the Ukrainian city government in exile, shows armed soldiers following election workers into residential buildings. A warning by Ukrainian authorities that people will face criminal punishment if they vote prompted some to leave and others to hide behind closed doors. No matter how many ballots are cast in the end, the Ukrainian leadership and its Western allies say the referendum is a sham, a pretext for the Kremlin to annex the four regions in which it is held: Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson. Many ordinary Ukrainians think the same.
It's illegal. They are worse than fascists. It's simply unbearable.
With the war escalating continuously over the last few months, many Ukrainians left their homes long before Moscow staged its so-called referendum on their future. For those who stayed, remains the fear they'll soon have to live as citizens of Russia, and perhaps even become fighters for its army.
DW correspondent Matthias Berlinger joins us for the latest from Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. Matthias, what have you been hearing about the conditions under which people in occupied areas must vote?
Well, this annexation poll, as many call it, it violates probably all norms of a democratic referendum or election. There, first of all, the conditions under war, where many people have left the area, and those who stay, they do not represent necessarily the majority of the population. There has been no preparation in terms of informing the population. That's also a requirement that the voters must be well informed and that they must know all their options. This has not been underway. And then the process itself, we've seen these transparent ballot boxes, we've seen people ticking their box in front of the people sitting behind these ballot boxes, so there are no voting booths, there's no say of, there are no conditions that would guarantee some kind of privacy to the voters. So all these norms, we've also seen these people entering buildings with soldiers in their tow and knocking on doors, asking people to cast their box, so their vote. So all of these conditions, they violate all norms of a democratic referendum, and we cannot possibly take the results of this referendum any seriously.
So it doesn't sound free or fair, and it's happened at lightning speed, and it sounds like the results are going to come out quite quickly too.
That's what we're hearing. There's also probably no need to take a long time to count these votes, as most of them seem to be predetermined. What we might be seeing is that the Kremlin might move pretty quickly in annexing these regions. That's the purpose of this exercise, that the Kremlin will have some kind of a reason to proceed with annexation and to change the narrative about this war, because after this, of course, in the Kremlin's view, Ukraine will be fighting Russian territory.
What about the Ukrainians, though, who've decided to stay, don't want to live under Russian control, but may want to get out quite soon?
It's been difficult to leave these territories. It's been possible but difficult. People have been spending days at the checkpoints if they want to cross over to Ukrainian-controlled territory, and it's even been more difficult for men to leave the territory because the checkpoints would often not let men pass. Now, with the general mobilization in Russia having started, of course, the fear for these people who live in these territories, for the men who live in these territories, is that they might be drafted into the Russian army.
DW's Matthias Berlinger in Kyiv, thank you very much for your analysis.